when you go to the church and you light up a candle, it's going to be that religious ceremony of me going and lighting up my candle in memory of a band that, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this, because they're the band that got me into metal. Welcome to another episode from Takedowns to Breakdowns with A&P, and today we're here to talk about what I feel is the only story worth talking about: Sepultura calling it quits after 40 years. Wow. It took everybody by surprise. It took everybody by storm. They had announced, 4-year anniversary coming up in 2024. They had hinted at touring, which is actually going to happen. They're going to do a farewell tour. They announced already the European leg of the farewell tour, which includes Obituary and Ginger. I can't remember if it includes anybody else, but I know it includes those two bands. So I'm sure there's going to be a North American tour as well, and an Asian tour. I'm sure they're going to tour everywhere, celebrating the 40 years of the band, but also the fact that c'est fini for Sepultura, 40 years.
Which is a big hit for you. I mean, growing up being a...
I don't know. I feel like out of the two of us, obviously, I think this is a bigger news for me than it is for you. I'm going to be honest, because people are probably wondering, so what's your take on this? And I'm sure you're probably thinking, what's your take on this? I honestly feel like Sepultura should have called it quits when Max left. That's my take. Having said that, 𝗙𝗢𝗢, which is their last record, is probably one of their best records ever. So take that for what it is. Now, the way I would have liked things to have happened, the way I think it would have been better for all parties involved, but that's just my take as a fan, somebody who's from the outside looking in, is that after Roots, when Max left, call it quits on the band, disband the band. The other members could have continued on with another name. With let's face the facts. When you have that Sepultura name behind you, if they had gone on with a different name as a new band, the publicity of being former Sepultura members would have helped them get that band off the ground a lot quicker. I don't think it would have been the case of, we have to start from zero again. I don't think that's the case.
No, it's still former Sepultura members.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. It would be like if Kerry King and, I don't know, Dave Lombardo decided to start their own band now that Slayer is over. I'm not saying that would ever happen, but if they did think of doing something like that, or just Kerry King on his own, you always have that baggage that comes with it, right? So yeah. I don't think you were ever really starting from zero. So let me just put that out there. So as a fan, I would have liked things to have ended then. Start off with a clean slate. You go your way with your own band. Max goes his way with his own band, which he did go his way with his own band, and it would have been a suiting end of a chapter there. They decided to continue on, and then when Igor left. Down the line, Igor left, that became even more apparent that how much of this is really Sepultura. Because to me, those two brothers were the cornerstone of Sepultura. There would have been no Sepultura without the two of them. So it's hard for me to look at that band and feel otherwise. And like I said, 𝗙𝗢𝗢, I think it's one of the best records that they've ever released, period. I'm not talking about just a post-Max era. I'm talking about period. One of their best albums that I've heard from Sepultura. But I honestly feel like Sepultura is Max and Igor. It's always been Max and Igor. The moment that Igor decides to walk away, I think that's the moment. If not at the Roots time, then at that time should have been a point of looking and like, what are we doing? Like, is this really like what we want to do? So I don't know. It didn't happen. It's happening now. I think a lot has happened in Andreas' life. He lost his wife to cancer. So maybe that plays a role as well in him maybe wanting to take a step back and calling it quits on the band and let things end in a celebratory way, because it's 4-year anniversary. So it's a nice milestone if you think about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I'm not there. It was their choice, their decision to continue on. I respect that as well. I would have liked to have seen it differently, but I respect that as well. But seeing them live, I must say, Sepultura live misses a second guitar player. So, like when
you did say this before, yeah.
Yeah, when you go see Sepultura live, and more so the older stuff, and you listen to it, it's like you're listening to the guitars on mono. There's like only one channel of guitars coming in.
You're missing that other.
You're missing the other guitar. Like it feels very empty. It just feels. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that it feels like a cover band, because then I could also say the same thing about Max and Igor when they do their Sepultura tours where they play like Roots from start to finish, or Horizon Beneath the Remains start to finish, because both bands have two members that were there when those albums were created. So to call one a cover band and not call the other a cover band, I think it's disingenuous. So I think if you're gonna use that as a reference, then you have to use that reference for both, not just for one, but for both. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that, but Sepultura live needed a second guitarist. Definitely needed a second guitarist. So it was a little bit bittersweet when I saw them live, because it's like, okay, I'm seeing Sepultura, not the Sepultura that I would like to see, and not the Sepultura sound that I would like to hear, but it's Sepultura. And I honestly feel like it's a good thing to do it on the 40th anniversary. Like I said, it's a huge milestone, but I think it should have happened maybe 10 years ago, maybe even longer. Like I said, after Roots. At least that's my take. Even though you're not very invested in the band,
well, I was gonna ask
what do you think?
So the North American dates are going to be...
No, they've only announced so far an extensive European tour.
Yeah, no, but
I'm sure there will be. The European tour. I think it's September, so fall of next year.
Would you go?
I'll go because it's the 40th anniversary of the band, and it's the last time that they'll play live. So I'll go. But I'm not going. And by the way, they just played North America with Creator, so I'm even thinking that the North American tour may come in 2025, because it just doesn't make sense to do a North American tour this summer. They did a North American tour with Creator this summer, the Clash of Titans, and now to come back in spring again, it's too short. And the fact that they announced the European tour for the fall lends me to believe that we probably will see a North American tour
in the spring of 2025.
Now, what I think they should do, it's not what's going to happen, but what I think they should do, it's, once again, sometimes bands, I know it's hard to swallow your ego. I know it's hard to say sorry. I know it's hard sometimes to mend the fences. The longer you stay on your side of the fence, the harder it is for you to reach out to the other side of the fence. I get all of that. I honestly understand that. At the end of the day, for us fans, we just want one thing, but there's emotions, there's real people behind these situations. There's a reason why they broke up to begin with.
Yeah.
I get all of that. But I honestly wish, we're talking about 40 years of Sepultura. We're talking about calling it quits. I honestly wish that we could, almost like the mob, when they have those... what do you call it? Those meetings. They have a name for those things. I can't remember what the mobsters call those. What they need is a consigliere. Like, you know what I mean? They need a neutral mediator.
Yeah.
They need a neutral mediator. Somebody that could come in and say, listen, 40-year anniversary, we're calling it quits. How about we bring the brothers back on a tour, and we have them play with us the old material, and then you have the existing members play the new material.
Yeah, I mean...
I think that would be, in my humble opinion, that would be the perfect way of closing this chapter.
Yeah.
I don't care if you guys... They could have two separate tour buses. They could not see each other until they go on stage. You know what I mean? You don't have to hug, you don't have to kiss, you don't have to sing Kumbayas. You know what I'm saying? But if you go... It's... First of all, the money would be there. The money would be there.
True.
But if you really cared about the fans, and if you really cared about doing the right thing
to end off the band,
like same thing with Kiss. Kiss could have done that. You know what I mean? Like, put these politics aside and these issues that have happened between members. Put all of that aside, especially if you're doing a farewell tour and you're celebrating 4 years of the band. I think that would be the right way to pull this off. That would be the right way to do it. Look at Machine Head. When they were celebrating 25 years of Burn My Eyes, somebody had to swallow their pride, make some phone calls, and bring the original lineup back in order to do that tour. All right? And at least you throw the olive branch out. If the other person doesn't want to do it, like in Machine Head's case, if Rob is calling the guys from the old band and he's, inviting them to do this and they don't want to do it, and I'm sure he put a lot of money on the table, to entice those guys to do it, then, there's nothing you can do. You did your part. You swallow your pride, you put money on the table, and you invited them in, and you did the right thing. He did the right thing. Mm-hmm. And it was a successful tour, and more important than that, it was important for the fans. Like, I went to that show. That show's important for me because Burn My Eyes is such an important record for me as a fan. So to see that lineup play that record, it was out of this world. So for me to go see Sepultura during this 40-year anniversary tour run and be able to see and hear Arise and Beneath the Remains songs and Root songs and Chaos AD songs, the way they were originally written, with the guys that originally wrote them and played them, it would be almost a religious moment. I honestly feel that way. It's not going to happen.
It also becomes that final piece in your brain where it's like, okay, I've seen them now live.
The chapter is over,
and I feel like I can let this band rest and not feel any.
It's not going to happen, and I'm not saying it's one camp's fault versus the other camp's fault. I think there's fault on both ends. Yeah. I'm sure that there's going to be people on both ends that have some reservations about doing something like that. But I think that's the time where, you sit at a table, two people facing each other, and you talk it out. And here's the numbers. Let's make this work. What do you need from my side for your side to be happy with it? And this is what I need from your side in order for my side to be happy with it. And I think that's how you do it. There's no point going to the grave with ill wishes and regret and all of this stuff. Eventually, one day, I'm telling you, one day, you're going to be sitting at home thinking about the memories you had, and the what ifs are going to creep in. At one point, that's going to happen, regardless of what people tell you, regardless of what people say. So I think this would be the perfect ending to a chapter that unfortunately is not going to end that way.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
No, it's not. It's not. If it was to end that way, they would have announced it that way.
True.
You know what I mean? The fact that they didn't announce it that way, it's not going to happen. So, anyways, that's how I feel.
Yeah, coming from me, very neutral grounds, because I do like Sepultura, but I didn't have that connection that you did. It's the end of the band, but I do want to see them at least once, just to kind of mark that.
Yeah, it was. If this wasn't the 40th anniversary tour, and if this wasn't the final goodbye, I wouldn't go. I've checked that box. I've seen them. I checked that box.
No Ginger. No Ginger.
I don't know if Ginger's going to be part of the North American tour.
But if they are, that's also kind of a plus.
Yeah, but I can see Ginger any other time. I've seen them multiple times. They're not going to be the reason why I would go to that show, to be honest. So what I'm saying to you is that I've seen Sepultura, not in the original lineup, this lineup, and it wasn't to me up to snuff. Live, I'm sorry to say this, I'm a huge Sepultura fan. I'm not shitting on anybody. It was not up to snuff. You need a second guitarist.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. You need a second guitarist. It didn't hold water to what those songs really are. And this is the bottom line. And anybody who says otherwise, they're either lying to you or they're lying to themselves. Because if you go and you put Arise, Beneath the Remains, any of those records on, and you listen to those records, and you go see the band live, don't tell me it's the same shit, because it's not. It's not even close. It's not even close. There's one guitar missing, and it's totally noticeable. It was noticeable to me.
But that's happened before at other shows where we've noticed, I feel like there's something missing from just the sound itself.
When I was there, I people were asking me after, when I saw them live last time, people were asking me, what's your take? So, first time seeing something.
And that was the first thing.
And that's the first thing I said. And they're like, oh, come on, dude, they were really good. I'm like, no, you're letting your heart and you're letting your emotion
get in the
way of the reality. If their name was not Sepultura, if their name was somebody else, and they sounded like that, when you know exactly the sound is not like that because it's missing a guitar, you know what I mean?
Too.
You'd be complaining too. I give them kudos at least for not backing track the guitar. I give them kudos for that.
But at that point, I feel like.
But I mean, it's you die by drowning or you die by burning. I mean, neither one is good.
But I feel like when you play something, you can't play with clouded glasses on. You have to be able to think to yourself, even though you're the one playing, you have to be able to think, this is not that good. This doesn't sound up to snuff. This and that. But I feel like even backing tracks would have actually came in handy then. Because if it's
I also
that noticeable...
One of the things I said was also, if they had brought the sound of the bass up, and they had the bass do some of the riffs and the melodies of the guitar, because the guitars are really thick in those songs, it wouldn't be as noticeable because you still have that going in the background, so you still have that chunkiness. But because they don't do that, and you don't have the guitar and they don't do that, the sound becomes super thin. It's very thin. It's super noticeable. So when I talk to people and they tell me like, you're being too critical, this and that, you know what I mean? Or you're like friends with Max and that's why you're... It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with I'm being honest. I'm not letting my love for the band, my love for their music get in the way of me being critical and being honest about what I hear is not what I should be hearing. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Like I've never been one of those fans that turns a blind eye to everything and everything is copacetic. No, if something is not right, like you gotta say it's not right. Like I mean that goes to anything in life. You have somebody in your life that's fucking up. If you really care for them, you should speak up and say, hey, you're fucking up. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you don't say anything, you really don't care. Then you just let the person self-destroy. Anyway, so that's my take. I know a lot of people. I've been reading comments on social media of people that I know. And the main consensus is they should have called it quits a long time ago. But like I said, 𝗙𝗢𝗢 is one of their best records to date. So having said everything that I just said, they still released their last record. It's going to be their last record. Their last record was an absolute masterpiece of an album. So kudos to them for still being able to release a record like that. But everything that I said before still stands. And I'll go. Yeah, because it's the last show. Yeah. It's the last show, the last tour. I'm not going for Sepultura. I'm going for
the novelty.
Like when you go to the church and you light up a candle, it's going to be that religious ceremony of me going and lighting up my candle in memory of a band that, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this because they're the band that got me into metal. So I'm going for that. I'm not going for the music. I'm going for the experience of being able to see them for one last time. Yeah. Regardless if it's missing guitars or not. So, you're with me?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. So this is it, guys. This is it for today. Let us know your thoughts on Sepultura calling quits 40-year anniversary farewell tour coming up in Europe, and I'm sure I think it's gonna be a tour that's probably gonna last over a year. It's probably gonna start late in 2024 and run into all of 2025. I'm thinking that's what it's gonna be because they have to hit every continent. Yeah, they're gonna have to go everywhere: Europe, Asia, Australia, South America, North America. They're gonna have to hit everywhere. And it's going to be busy for them because people will come out to see them. That's for sure. Yeah. That's for sure. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching our video, and we'll see you all next week with another one.
See ya.